when you don't have childcare, you can't afford daycare, and you've got a little baby or a toddler or kids home with you. How do you do this in a way that makes sense for you and your family? That's exactly what we're talking about in today's episode. Welcome back to the Modern Real Estate Mama podcast, a business and marketing podcast for modern real estate moms that are raising a family and building a real estate business that they love. Grab an iced coffee or your drink of choice. We are getting into this week's episode. Hey ladies, we are back this week, and I want to say, first of all, that my voice sounds a little weird. I have been having like half of my vocal cords have been like swollen off and on for the last like week and a half. So I'm feeling a little bit, I don't feel sick, but I'm feeling a little bit better today. But if my voice sounds a little funky, that is what's going on. So I'm just trying to get an episode out and valuable content out there, because I've been on a little bit of a break working on something behind the scenes for real estate agents that I'm really excited about. So if you're looking for more support and community ongoing, I'm going to be announcing something very soon, and I'm just really, really excited about it. But today we're talking about how to start building your business, or how to start generating leads and getting some business when you can't afford daycare or childcare. You've got littles at home with you by your side that need a lot of attention. How do you do this in a way that makes sense? Because you might not be able to afford childcare right now or full-time daycare, right? But you want to build your business, and you feel like, okay, well, can I even do that with, they need so much attention? Like I'm navigating like feeding and nap schedules and all the things, But yes, absolutely you can. So the 3 things that we're going to focus on in today's episode are relationships, social media, and video. And what I want you to take away from this episode is that it's going to be kind of a combination where these 3 different categories are kind of all merged together to create this lead generating and conversion ecosystem to help you to generate the business and, build relationships, nurture those relationships, generate leads, convert those leads into actual clients. And then when you start getting closings and you start to generate this consistent real estate business, you'll be able to afford childcare, so you can have focused work times, or you can afford the daycare, or you can have options where you can have some help. That way you can spend more focused time on your business while your kiddos are still getting the care that they need, because you have the resources to do so in a way that works for your family, because I know that looks different. Childcare and daycare and all of that is very individual to each family. So let's talk about relationships very first. If you are struggling in your real estate business, or you're a new mom, or you're a mom who has got your kids with you what feels like 24/7, I think the number one thing that you need to focus on and prioritize is growing your network, building relationships with people. Because when it comes down to it, your real estate business and your real estate career is going to come down to relationships. Now, sometimes relationships are really hard to put facts and figures behind. When people say to cold call and door knock, there's usually typical numbers and figures associated with that of like, okay, if you make so many calls, this is the percentage that's going to answer. This is the percentage that's going to convert to an appointment. This is the percentage that's going to convert to an actual client, right? Relationships doesn't really work that way. But what I will say is that one of the things in this changing age of real estate that cannot be taken away from you is your relationships. I have seen countless posts over the last couple of months of like, my leads are down from this lead generation company or this pay at close company, and I don't know what to do. And that can happen if you're relying on your business from everyone else but yourself. But if you are building relationships, you're building your network, and you are becoming a valuable resource to that network and to your relationships, that is one thing that cannot be taken away from you. And I do want to say that your database is one of the biggest things that if you want to retire from real estate in any way, your database, your network is an actual sellable asset, whereas almost everything else in real estate is not. And so if you're thinking long term, you got to invest in relationships. So how do you do that when you don't have childcare and you've got your kiddos by your side? Well, as a mom, I'm also a mom and I've been in your shoes. As a mom, I would say that you need to focus and go and find mom friends. Invest into other moms. The reason why is because you're going to relate most to other moms because you're going through the same phase of life. It's easier to connect with somebody who understands the position you're in because they're in the same position, right? So the best place that you're going to connect with people is people in a similar life stage. So that is going to be connecting with other moms. So how do you do this? If you don't know other moms or you don't feel like you know enough, is I would head to social media and either find a mom's group, or if there's not a mom's group, create a mom's group. We're going to talk about this in just a minute when I talk about social media. But find and become a part of a local mom's group or start your own. If you have followed the podcast for any length of time, you probably know that I'm a huge proponent of Facebook groups, community building, and your relationships are your community. You can build relationships if you have a thriving community. So if you don't have the relationships in place to do this step yet, go find it or go create them. So what you can do is you can start hosting meetups, play dates, mom's night out, book club. Set your frequency. If you are really trying to generate leads and you're really slow in your business, I would be hosting something once a week. And this does not have to cost you any money. If you host play dates, park dates, splash pad dates, a walking club, a book club, even mom's night out, that doesn't have to cost you money at all. It could just be like, hey, I'm going, with the exception of if you do mom's night out or happy hour or something and you go to, whatever, a local Mexican food restaurant or the wine bar, right? But you don't have to pay for anybody else. If they want to grab coffee or food or drinks, at the meetup, if you're going to somewhere that is a restaurant, they can pay for themselves. You're just facilitating the planning and putting it together and being okay, hey, we're going to go do a park play date every Wednesday at 9 o'clock or 9:30 a.m. at this park or this splash pad, or this week, here's where we're going, right? I would be looking to do something once a week. Now, some of these, if you're doing a park or splash pad play date once a week, maybe you also do a mom's night out or a book club or something that's kind of after hours, just moms, no kiddos involved, once a month or once every 2 weeks, But I think if you're really slow and you're trying to generate business, doing something once a week gives you something to continue to promote and put out there. And I think it gives you the best chance of meeting as many people as possible. What you're going to do from here is you want to meet these moms, you want to connect, you want to try to get engaged with them on social media, follow them on add them on Facebook, engage with them on Instagram, follow their Instagram if they have it, right? And then I want you to start inviting people to do one-on-one play dates or one-on-one, meet for coffee or something like that. So you have the group setting, which gets you in front of hopefully multiple people at once. And then you have the one-on-one setting where you can deepen the relationship. The thing is that with the group meetups that I want you to understand is that you may have times where people don't show up, but you have to continue to stay consistent and put in the work and give the space for it to happen. People are really nervous, they're cautious, they want connection, but they get busy or things happen. And as a mom, this is true. What happens, when you get social anxiety, or the kids are not having a great day that day, or the baby didn't sleep good last night and is super cranky because they're teething, right? You have to give space anyways. I'm going to give a really good example of this. I'm a part of a book club. I do not host it. And we did about 8 books a little over 4 weeks apart for each book club meeting at this book club that I attend that's hosted by my friend. And we had this one woman that's in the book club group chat that she was always invited, but she didn't show up until the 8th book in. So we went almost like a full year before we met this lady in the book club. Now, if my friend had started a separate group chat for the book club without her in it, or didn't keep inviting her, she would have never come. And so it was just that, she travels a lot for work, and this is something that allowed her to, engage because the space was created. And when you are doing stuff like this, you have to give the space and continue to show up regardless, because people sometimes need just the confirmation that like it's real or legit, or they need to just make it work with their schedule, right? And so you're going to have to commit to showing up sometimes, even if people are not showing up right away in return. But once you connect with them in the group, trying to meet people one-on-one or like in a smaller setting is a great way to deepen those relationships. Now, what I don't want you to do is to go and do like a one-on-one like play date or coffee meetup or something like that, and then be like, oh, hey, okay, so I met you, and now do you want to buy a house from me? Do you want to, do you want to sell a house? Like, no, that's not what we're doing. What we're doing is we are building relationships, and we're going to provide value. So what I want you to think about is just, it's naturally going to come up that you're in real estate, but incorporating them into, seeing your content. If you do newsletters or mailers or, anything like that, or if you do start a Facebook group, I want you to, start including the people that are receiving this stuff, I want you to start including the people that you're meeting, in this that you're doing, any content, local content, real estate, and this is why I think having community-based content, local content, niche-based content is so helpful, because it's not going to turn away people that you're connecting with in real life and building that relationship if you're talking about real estate, if you also have other relevant content that attracts them and meets them, where they're at. So let's get into social media to talk about like how you can incorporate social media and then build off these relationships that you're making in person. So social media, there's a lot that you can do from home when your kids are napping, or even if you have kids. There's a lot that you can do driving to get videos and clips where even if your kids are in the background and there's sound coming from them, crying, talking, babbling, whatever it might be, where you don't have to have the sound on in the video clips. Let's say you go and you record some new construction tours. You can bring your kids with you and then mute the sound and put music on over that, right? But on social media, you can display communities that you're wanting to work in, the local amenities, talk about local things going on, and you can start sharing some of that stuff, especially that local content and the content that moms and families are going to relate to. If you started that Facebook group, that's a great way to share that stuff. So I would make it a priority to focus on like 4 different categories really within your social media content. So local content, I would do family or motherhood content to really relate to that niche, that interest group. I would do real estate, and then I would do some personal, whether that would be, something that you're really passionate about, a hobby or something, but something more personal. And this honestly is overall, I think, a great strategy for real estate agents, no matter if you're a mom, a parent or not, is to have different categories, because I say this a lot, but when people are only buying a house every few years, and not even every few years, if it's 7 years apart, 10 years apart, right? And if you want to be able to still build that relationship and build the brand awareness and presence with them, because you're talking about more than just real estate. Because if it's just 100% real estate, if they're not in that mindset, they have no other reason to follow you and to engage with your content. But if you're also providing them relevant community information, talking about local things to do, local businesses, what's going on in your community, events, things like that. You're talking about, motherhood and one of your hobbies. Like, there's more connection points and it's more well-rounded for you to be able to connect with people and stay connected with them for a long term. Again, we want to use social media to both attract new people to our page that may eventually become our clients, but we also want to deepen the relationship and continue to nurture the relationships we have in place. That is one thing that I want to use Instagram and Facebook to nurture my relationships. And yes, if I attract new people in, that is great. But for me, that is one of the primary uses, is to stay top of mind, stay connected with them, continue to build that relationship with them, provide them value in multiple ways. So there's a lot that you can do with social media. And honestly, your stories, especially for nurture and continuing to build off those relationships you're building in real life, your stories can be very behind the scenes. And if you are talking about motherhood and you're talking about some real estate stuff, showing behind the scenes previews, there's a lot that you can do where it doesn't have to be super aesthetically pleasing, super polished. It can be very real life. Now, there's a time and place for some of your content to be polished and professional and really aesthetic, right? Listing marketing especially, right? But for the most part, you want to be true to your brand, and you're going to develop your aesthetic. But I think a lot of moms get stuck in that they can't show that they're moms, or they can't show like the behind the scenes because it's messy or it's not aesthetically pleasing, right? But I think you're best going to connect if you are being true and you're connecting in an authentic way. The last couple of years has been a lot of like very polished, aesthetic, very produced social media and content marketing, content in general, from YouTube to TikTok TikTok a little bit less so, but Instagram. And I actually think that's going away. And what I'm seeing is a wave of people who are becoming very extreme, just extremely authentic and real, and just showing up as they are. Sometimes it may be polished, sometimes it may not be. But even like on YouTube, lenders just going and answering frequently asked questions. There's a guy that talks about, finances and the economy, and he literally just does these like live streams in his car. Very real, and he's very, very successful, right? So I think we're coming out of an age where everything has to be so produced. I think there's a time for production. There is a time for polished and aesthetic content, but I don't think it has to be 100% of your content. And I think that if you're a mom who's trying to connect with other moms, it's going to be real and relatable. And I think that's going to just further attach that relationship, right? You're going to have to find that balance and what you find to be like what you're comfortable with, right? But I would say, especially on stories, it doesn't have to be so perfect and polished. Just be in the moment, share a couple of behind the scenes of your day or what you're working on or a house that you previewed, right? Let's go to video next, because video is something that I believe in using on social media, but I also believe in using it as something to help convert your audience into clients, but also, using it on social media and using it on YouTube. So the reason that I love video is because when somebody is watching you on video face to face, they're seeing your face, they're hearing your voice. It is to the brain very much like you are sitting in a one-to-one conversation with them. The power of that is incredible, because think about how limited you are to one-on-one conversations. You can only have so many conversations face to face with so many potential clients because your time is limited. But if we can leverage our conversations and we can leverage video to create a very similar, if not the same, reaction within the brain of building trust and connection like we would in person, that's extremely powerful. And that now leverages your time, because you could record a video and send that video out to 50, 60 people, or have 100 people come across it on YouTube. And now you have leveraged yourself to having that conversation, being in front of somebody, them seeing your face and hearing your voice multiple times for something that, let's say it takes you 30 minutes to put together the video, right? Maybe it's a 10-minute video or so. You're answering a frequently asked question that you get from your clients, or talking about a market update, or the top 3 reasons to move to your city, or top 3 reasons somebody wouldn't want to move to your city. You have now leveraged yourself, and that video continues to work for you in times where maybe you are fully present with your kids at home. Maybe you are working with another client even. Maybe you are sleeping. I can't tell you how many times I get people signing up for lead magnets from my YouTube channel at times when I'm sleeping. That's leverage, and that's amazing to know that I can be sleeping and my content is still working for me, right? But you can also use this content, you can use it as both discovery but also nurture. So like I said, a good one is you taking time once a month to explain what's going on in your local real estate market and how that is relevant to buyers and sellers. You breaking it down, them being able to hear your explanation, goodness, of why is this important to me? As a buyer, what does this mean for me? As a seller, what would this mean for me? What do I need to know? What's important? Because if we just share a graphic from Keeping Current Matters, it is really hard for the average homeowner or potential buyer or somebody renting to understand what that data actually means for them. We want to make it simple. We want to break it down and give them the information of like, okay, what does this mean if I'm thinking about becoming a buyer? What does this mean if I'm becoming a seller? Or if you're working with a lot of relocation clients or working in certain communities, featuring those communities, having videos, having those on your website, having them in your email campaigns, you are now able to attract and nurture with your video content and use these videos for multiple purposes, and you're leveraging your time. Now, sometimes you may have to be recording videos when your kids are napping or when your kids go to sleep. That's okay. You can also record community driving tours with your kids in the car. And, if there's sound, you can just mute it and do a voiceover or a short introduction. There's so many things that you can do, and it does not have to be super, you don't have to have a professional videographer, especially if you're just getting started. But what I would say is that if you're not yet using YouTube, even in a capacity to nurture and send, longer form video, it's a way to build more trust and capture attention for longer and build that trust and relationship with your potential clients, to nurture them closer to making a decision or to answer their questions and to leverage your time in a way that maximizes the work that you're doing. And then if you want to repurpose those longer videos, you can repurpose them for Instagram Reels and TikTok videos and Facebook Reels, YouTube Shorts. You can use them, use shorter clips, and now you maybe have made 1 or 2 videos a month that can produce 6 to 10 shorter form videos if you want to use those for social media to really be efficient with your time. So as a mom, whether you have childcare or not, relationships, social media, and video, I would be using these 3 to create an ecosystem that builds relationships, attracts new people to you, stay in front of them with social media, provide relevant content, provide the real estate content, of course, nurture the relationship, and then continue to convert and build trust and authority with long form video that you can repurpose to social media if you want to. And this is going to create an ecosystem that is going to generate you more leads, and it's going to build you a business that is based off relationships, which no one can take away from you. No one can take away your relationships because somebody can't replicate those. And you're going to convert more people over time. You're going to leverage your time. And then you're going to have the money to have the options with childcare or help or leverage in your real estate business as you continue to build this ecosystem that generates leads, nurtures them, and converts those leads into clients. So that would be what I would be focusing on. Now, I do have a list of 42 ways to generate real estate leads that does not include cold calling and door knocking. I'm going to link it down below. I don't think you should do all of those, but that should give you some ideas of, within these 3 main areas of focus that we talked about in today's episode, what are some specific things that you can do within those to help you to generate leads as a mom that maybe doesn't have childcare. I want to leave you with just a couple more things. If you are struggling to make time for your business because you've got the kids, a baby, a toddler, and you're trying to generate more leads, and you're just struggling with focused work time. If you are newer to the business or you just don't have a lot of business, so finances are tight, here are my 2 recommendations. Very first thing, if you pay a babysitter even for 2 hours to come into your home and watch your baby, your toddler, your kids, you can get a lot done in that time. If you cannot do that, is there another mom in your area that you can trade babysitting with? Maybe one day you watch the kids for a couple of hours, and then maybe a couple days later in the week, she watches the kids. If you have to get creative because you really just need the focus time, you've got to do what you've got to do. And more than likely, there is some kind of solution. Now, I understand not having the help that you need, or feeling like you wish you had more support or wish you had more help. And I really, really do. But what I would say is that you have got to make it work. You've got to come up with a solution, and be creative. And it may not be perfect right now when you're in this building phase and you're working on a shoestring budget. It may not be ideal. And what you've got to focus on and hold on to is that long-term vision for your family and your kids. And what does that look like? What is that long-term path? What does the future look like? Is it so that you can take your kids on family vacations that you never got to go to? Is it so that you can create experiences with your kids? You can send them to that really good school in your area, or give them a college fund so they have options with their career and they can go to the school of their choice. It is sometimes really hard to do this on our own, and that is why the community is so important, the community aspect. And what I would say is that while you're building community with other moms in your area, what you also need to do is plug into our Modern Real Estate Mama community, because unless you're building community with other agents, that's not a problem in your area. But if you're doing that as a lead generation activity, I would be a little bit worried, because unless they're going to buy from you, which is probably not the case, that's probably not the relationships you need for leads. You need support though from other moms who know what it's like to be a mom while building a real estate business, because it's not going to be the same relationship you have with the moms in your area that you're connecting with. that you're hoping to be a valuable asset and resource for them as their agent of choice, So plug into our Modern Real Estate Mama community on Facebook. And I really, I just want you to know that I believe in you. And if you have any questions, come to the Facebook group, or you can DM me on Instagram, reach out to me. And of course, grab that resource for the lead generation ideas below in the show notes. And I will talk to you guys in the group and on the next podcast episode.